So the 10th of July 2023, this is one of that Let's Talk Skidmarks that I do. And in this one I want to talk about attitude. Now, about 3 weeks ago, somebody added me to a group that was dedicated to the BRICS conference. And obviously, I don't think there were many white people there. And for a day or so, I just watched the group and watched the posts. And to me, it was quite interesting to see the types of discussions that took place and the questions that were asked and things like that. And there was, from what I could gather, the vast majority of the members of that group is young, black South Africans. And it was quite amazing to see how focused they were on how can they get funds from the new BRICS bank. I saw not a single question about opportunities. And by day 2 I started asking questions, and those that follow my channel knows what type of questions I ask. And most of the questions were met with an avalanche of arrogant responses. Some had clear racist undertones and things like that. But I held my cool, because the biggest bonus for me from that group was that I met the guy that I call Mr. X. And me and him talked a lot about the young people, and we discussed the fact that around education, and he made a statement that he said that education doesn't play a serious role in the minds of the youngsters. And that was something that I will talk about. I have done a Skidmark on the status of education in South Africa, and but I've been thinking a lot about attitude. Now tonight I'm going to show you a slideshow of street scenes from Rwanda. Now, Rwanda went through a horrific civil war and genocide. It was horrific. And Paul Kagame became the president after all the turmoil came to an end. He got that country, and what did he get? He got truly a broken country. Broken. Not only physically broken, but the spirit and the psyche of the people were battered and broken. And that is what he inherited. But I followed him in his career, not in depth, but I kept an eye on what was happening in Rwanda. And one of the things that he did very early after his tenure started was every Saturday, all the people of Rwanda went into the streets and cleaned the streets up. It was a massive national drive to clean up. And I never heard that president talking about revenge and restitution and all those negative things about the past of Rwanda. He was clearly focused on the future. And by starting with cleaning the place up, he created an environment that was more pleasant for the people. Yes, and his government spent a lot of money in sorting the schooling out, sorting the education out, sorting the health system out, getting their economy back up and getting the economy running, getting the country in a position so that they could get investments, overseas investments in industry and a lot of development. And that was what he was focused on. And after 10 years, he was at the end of his term. And the people wanted him for another term. But their constitution prohibited it. And the people of Rwanda voted in a referendum, something like 87%, if I remember correctly, voted for a change of that constitution so that the president can have more terms than only 2. So he's still in charge today, and Rwanda is doing well. I did a skidmark on their rural development and how they did their things there to uplift their people out of poverty. And the rural, let's call it rural estates that they built in Rwanda, consisted out of, say, 50 or 100 houses, nice houses, really nice houses for families. And on that same property, there was provision for them to have chickens and cattle and their animals that they traditionally have. So there was corrals made and sties made and pens, facilities for all of that. So the people could still maintain their traditional way of life, but they were living in good houses with electricity and water and sewage and all of that. And then they still had their plots on which they could grow their vegetables and do their garden, all that, and animals and things like that, which is fantastic. But that shows you what happens if you have a president with a vision, a president that really cares for its people, for his people and for his country, and a president that was willing to make difficult decisions. But he made those decisions with a firm eye on the future. And that cleanup operation that he started on a Saturday, everybody cleans up. They clean the streets in front of their houses and things like that. And he himself participated in these cleaning projects. And over the years, it has installed that discipline in that nation to be clean and to be neat. And now I want you to take a look at this slideshow and focus on the neatness of what you are seeing. I did not select images selectively to carry a specific message or agenda. These are images that could have been taken in any township in South Africa. Take a look at it and think about these things that I've said while you watch the slideshow. So, what you have seen there is the result of a positive attitude, not only of the president, but of the nation. And then we come to South Africa, and we look what South Africa, what did the ANC get when they got the power over the country in '94? The biggest economy in Africa, a highly sophisticated weapons industry, a highly sophisticated steel industry, a well-developed textile industry, and 140,000 commercial farmers producing food of top quality, of which a hell of a lot was exported. That is what he got. That is what the ANC got. An education system competing with the best in the world. A health system with hospitals competing with the best in the world. A government service famous for being one of the most professional government services in the world. And what did the ANC do? They got out of the blocks immediately. Racism, that was the horse they jumped first. Then they came with their BEE and affirmative action, and they destroyed the small and medium-sized industries totally. They destroyed the steel industry, they destroyed the weapon industry, they destroyed that. The health system collapsed into a state where today, if you go to any one of the government hospitals and you land there with the emergency, you will be lying on the floor in a passage, most probably for 3 days, and the first person that is going to tend to you is the cleaner. And then he's going to see this oak is dead, and he's going to inform the staff that there's a dead man in the passage. That's the reality. But all over this 30 years, everything was focused on race. And the cries for restitution and the cries for reparations, and instead of sitting down and say, listen guys, okay, it was a bad shit time, but there's now new management on the block. First thing we got to do is we've got to expand the government services to reach more people, and we're going to do it by getting black trainees in, and every management position in the government services, that white man sitting there must take 2 trainees and build it out. Go to the farmers and say, right, what do you need to maintain what you are doing or to grow? No, this clever government decided we're going to chase the farmers off their land. We're going to expropriate their property. We're going to make it for them totally impossible to operate properly. Bam, gone. Today we've got 32,000 commercial farmers. It may be less today, because this was about 6 months ago. A lot of food is now being imported, where we were exporters. The weapons industry is gone. And you must understand, with every one of these industries that fell, thousands of jobs evaporated. Thousands of them evaporated. Our textile industry is non-existent basically. Look at the status of our railways. One of the best railways in the southern hemisphere. Gone, missing. There's nothing. There's just here and there remnants of rails left. Things like that. And all the time, the youth is we want. But they didn't get education. There was no provision made for them to ever be employed. None of that. And it's all about attitude. And I'm not going to carry on with this. You guys know the story much better than I know it, because you live the story every day of your life. Look at how dirty our cities are, how dirty our streets are, how it is rubbish everywhere. Our rivers has been polluted. Everywhere, pollution, rubbish, rubble, and misery. That's what there is. 55% unemployed. But in the BRICS WhatsApp group, the black guys there, all they're interested in is how can they get money from the development bank. And I listen to them and I think to myself, okay, but if the development bank decides to consider you for money, what the fuck are you going to do with that money? Have you got an engineering works that you want to expand so that you can export some things that you make there? Do you have a clothing factory where you're making garments that you would like to export, but you know it's a small factory, you've only got 10 people working there, and you don't have the money to expand so you can get 100 because the machines are expensive and so forth. No, you don't have that because you're not entrepreneurs. You're tenderpreneurs, but you're not entrepreneurs. And now I'm going to give you a shocker. All those white people that you drove out of the civil service, what happened to them? What happened to them? Let me tell you. Go and look in the industrial areas of South Africa. Go and look there and see how many one-man, small, white businesses are there. Go and look. Go and look how many of those women driven out of their jobs are now working out of their garage at their house, either baking stuff or making stuff. Go and look at that. Go and look carefully. They did not have an option. They had to provide for themselves. And they did it. And you rubbed your hands for BEE, destroying the small businesses like this, and you liked it to see the white people out of the government services. You drove the whites out of Eskom. You drove them out. And look today, where are we? Load shedding, like hell. But the fact of the matter is, all of that, you justify all of that about shit that happened with Jan van Riebeeck. None of you are focused on the future. None of you. You never had any president really focused on the future. You had leadership in this country that was focused on stealing as much as they could. And I said in another Skidmark, if they steal 500 million rand, you don't feel it because it's not on your pocket. But you feel it when you go to a hospital and you must die on the floor. You feel it if you've got to go to Home Affairs and stand there from 4 o'clock in the morning in a queue, and then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they say, sorry, come back tomorrow. You feel it when you go to a clinic, and the clinic, nurses and sisters hanging around there, not very energetic to serve you, and eventually, if they decide to serve you, they say, sorry, we don't have the pills, we don't have the bandage, we don't have that. That is what you've got when you hit that pothole and your rim splits and your tire is gone and there you stand next to the road. That's when you feel that 500 million that has been stolen. But you should be happy. The whites are out. You're in charge. And look at this slideshow of what your living environment looks like, and then compare it with Rwanda. Shocking. But you will know, to you, it's not going to impress you most probably, because that is what you're used to and you're happy in that environment. That's the thing. You can get a brand new block of houses tomorrow, and within 6 months it looks like a squatter camp, because you move into your house and then you start putting shack rooms onto it like crazy and fill that whole yard up, because you're going to make money with the people that you're going to have living in those little shack rooms. You don't think about your environment. You don't think about what does circumstances do. Attitude. Attitude is the important thing. If you had leaders that cared about you, you would come out of matric with a technical skill that you acquired at a technical school. You go to a technical college, and after 3 years you're out there and you are graduated and you are equipped to do something with your hands. You can create something, you can make something, you can build something. If you go and look what it's like in China. I spoke to a guy that's been living there for 18 years. And I asked him about unemployment, and he said to me, you know what, I've never seen official unemployment numbers in this country. Ever. I haven't seen it. And I said, now how the hell does that work? And he said, you know what, the people here has got the attitude, if they can't find a job, they create a job. And that is amazing. And then I asked him about stuff on the social side, and the thing that hit me between the eyes, he told me that in China there is no old age homes, old age villages. There's nothing like that. And I said, hey, how the fuck do you cope with that? And he said, it is our tradition that the families look after their old people. And I'm going to tell you this about Chechnya. Many of you must have seen him, Ramzan Kadyrov, that leader of theirs. He was appointed a leader when he was quite a young guy. And one of the first things he did is he closed all the orphanages in Chechnya. And he said, children cannot grow up in orphanages and become productive, healthy adults. Children must grow up in a house with a father and a mother, in a family. And he called on the nation to adopt all the orphans. He himself personally took 3, I think. And that is how a leader that cares for his country acts. Not like what you've got here in South Africa. Leadership that is only looking after their own pockets, and they feel nothing for you. They don't care that tonight, I'm sitting here in the Lowveld. Let me check. The Lowveld, 7 degrees. That is bloody cold for us here. I cannot even try and imagine what it is like on the Highveld. Look, I can actually imagine because I grew up on the Highveld. How cold it is up there. But your leadership, they are sitting in million-rand mansions with heaters and air conditioners and all the luxuries you can think of. And you're in a small little tin room with a mattress on the floor, and that's it. No running water, no toilet, nothing. That's what you have. But your leaders are rolling in the luxury. And do you call them out on it? No! You call out the white people. Think about this. Blacks are 50 million in South Africa. This is around figures. 50 million. Whites are about 3.5 million. But you see that 3.5 million as a threat to you. What are you projecting? Weakness. You've got 170 laws protecting you against me. What are you saying to the world? You're weak. You are weak. Show me, where are the black industries? And just a reminder, in all the homelands was huge industrial zones. And I know, because I did business in those zones, but you the Sasa generation, you have never seen that, because when you started getting brains, all of that was destroyed by the ANC, all of that. Botswana, next to Pretoria, was a flourishing state. That ODI stadium was packed every weekend with sports and so forth. Go and look at what it looks like today. Dilapidated, neglected, fell apart. That hospital there was training medical doctors of top quality. What's going on there today? That is what you guys have done. What your leadership did to you. Destroyed a fantastic basis from which you could grow. They destroyed it and broke it down to fuck all. And you are not capable of building it back up again. You cannot. You can't build it back up again. Who's going to build it back up? The Afrikaners are maintaining themselves, but they're not going to build it back up again. They will not. And for what reason won't they do it? For the simple reason that they have been discriminated against, and that's it. So, who's going to build this country back up? Let's talk about that. You know of all the countries that are streaming into BRICS. There's something like 41 that now want to join BRICS. It is going to be entrepreneurs from those BRICS countries that are going to come here to South Africa, and they're going to take the opportunities that South Africa offers, which you are incapable of taking because you're untrained and you're unskilled and you're unmotivated. Your attitude is, we want, not we want to build, we want to give. No, we want. And I'm an old man. My children will most probably see South Africa flourish again. But the captains of industry will be Chinese, will be Russians, it will be people from the Middle East, it will be people from other African countries. They will make success of their lives here, while you will be unemployed and on a grant. And that's it. And it is your own fault, because you, different from the Rwandan people that looked at the future, you got fixated on the past, and that was it. And your soul was trapped in the past. And now I'm going to stop with this. You've got a lot to think about, but reality is, BRICS is a fantastic opportunity, but that BRICS train is going to pull out of the station, and you are going to stand you're going to stand there and watch it disappear over the horizon. Please give me a like and subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.